So I remember I said a prayer, and then I turned around and I faced my captors, and I remember saying, "Ooh, I just have this feeling, and I know this sounds crazy, and God would never condescend to speak to me, but this feeling, it just won't go away. So, could you please ask God, because I know He will answer you. I just know He will. I mean, you are His prophet and you're His servant here. In fact, you're basically His best friend. So could you please ask Him, because I just feel like we're supposed to go back to Salt Lake. And I just know that sounds so crazy, but could you please ask Him?" Well, he turned to me and smiled again. And he said, "Oh, I think the Lord is softening your heart. You are starting to truly see. Yes, I will ask God." Now maybe that was just, stroking his ego the right way. Maybe that was him feeling like, oh, she accepts me. She truly accepts me. Now I can do whatever I want. Not that he didn't already. But then again, if anyone really was inspired one time in their life, I think it was him in that moment, because there was every reason in the world not to go back to Salt Lake. But for some reason, he turned around and he came back and he said, "I think you're right. I think we should return to Salt Lake." And that's how it was decided that we'd return to Salt Lake. We ended up hitchhiking back, which, whoa, definitely would not recommend that mode of transportation, but it did the job. We finally made it back to Salt Lake City, and we were walking up State Street, which is quite a big street, and it's a very heavily trafficked street. And all of a sudden, a police car pulled up, and then another one, and another one, and another one. And pretty soon we were surrounded by police cars, and all these policemen were jumping out of their cars. I don't think I'd ever been around so many police in my entire life. But this was not the first time we'd been approached by police in the entire 9 months that I'd been gone. But every time that we'd been approached by police, I'd always been told that if anyone ever approached us, if anyone ever said anything, if I ever tried to escape, if I ever tried to run away, if I ever tried to scream, if I ever tried to do anything, I would be killed. And if they didn't kill me, they would kill my family. And just to be brief, because I feel like this is so important and I get asked this question so many times, I'd like to address it. I get asked all the time, well, why didn't you run? Why didn't you escape? If the police approached you, why didn't you do anything about it? I've been asked this question so many, many times that I want to answer it, but I also want to answer it on behalf of all abuse, kidnapping survivors, because they get asked the same questions. Well, why didn't you do something about it? Why didn't you run? Why didn't you say something? For me, up until that moment, everything that this man said he would do, he had done. He had successfully broken into my house, the place that I thought was most secure in the world. He had kidnapped me at knife point out of my own bed. He had taken me high up into the mountains that when I knew a search was going on, but no one had ever found us. He raped me. He chained me up. He abused me. I mean, the list could go on and on and on. Everything he said he was going to do, he did. And I got to a point where it didn't matter anymore what it was he was doing. I needed to survive. And so if that meant putting up with it, that's exactly what I did. And that's exactly what all survivors do. They survive. And that in and of itself is powerful beyond words. And so when you ask someone, well, why didn't you? Why didn't you? Trust me, they are doing more than anyone can possibly do just by surviving. Victim blaming is not the answer. Anyways,